Hey free-to-play gang, welcome back to another video. So recently I checked out one of ggez's videos, so I'm actually going to just steal a lot of his information for the first part of this video. Don't mind me, okay? This is just exactly how YouTube works and how the algorithm works. So mutual benefit, okay? So before we get into what exactly I'm stealing from his videos, let's take a look at her skill set before we get into that. So skill number 1, Code Exploit, attacks one enemy, deals 120% of attack in damage, 80% chance of inflicting mid straight up for 2 turns. Now at R2, when without stealth, you will then launch a pursuit attack with Transmit Virus. And Transmit Virus is actually her third skill. But let's talk about her second skill first. Trojan Horse attacks all enemies. The fewer the targets, the higher the damage. And enemy debuffs plus 1 turn besides stunts. And at the start of combat, you gain stealth for 2 turns. So this is obviously a passive effect here. Now, the third skill, this is the part where things get a little bit more complicated, which ggez actually went ahead to confirm that a lot of these stuff is actually a general passive and is not actually linked to just her third skill. So let me explain, right? Gains attack up for 2 turns and attacks one enemy twice, and then afterward you attack all enemy and then you gain stealth for 3 turns afterwards. Now, if Intisar has stealth, stealth is then reduced by 1 extra turn to deal extra true damage. So what this means is that you actually lose 2 stacks of stealth at the end of your turn whenever you land any of your attacks. Now this only triggers 1 time per turn. So let's take a look at what ggez explained in his previous video. So the first thing that he pointed out is that stealth would reduce by 2 turns with any of your skills. So let's just test it out with our second skill here. Yep, we do lose 2 stacks of stealth like that. Now the next thing that we need to test is to test whether her true damage is actually applicable on all of her skills, not just her third skill. Because if you take a look at this over here, her third skill actually mentions that if Intisar has stealth, she would then do true damage. But the thing is, let's just test out her normal attack with and without stealth, just to figure out whether is there indeed a damage difference. So we crit for 7800 damage. Now let's use our first skill again and let's figure out whether is the damage reduced or not. So let's crit over here, 6279 damage. As you can see, it is less damage than before, which means that we did in fact land some true damage on her first skill when she was in the stealth state. But I think the most important thing that he mentioned very briefly at the end of his video is that stealth is automatically removed when your Esper is alone. So let's just check whether this is true or not. Yeah, so we do not have stealth at the start because we are alone. And this is extremely important, and this is obviously something that we can abuse, because in her R2 state, take a look at this again, right? When without stealth, you will launch a pursuit attack with Transmit Virus. So that means that whenever we use our first skill here, we are always going to follow up with, with our third skill, right? We are always going to do that. And the thing is, if we have Avatara as well, this is what happens when we counter attacks. Right? When we land our counter attacks, oh my god, it just triggered so many times. And that was another thing that I wanted to mention. So the thing is, if you do... Oh my god, we're just popping off like crazy right here. So okay, a lot of things happen, which let me explain. So number 1, when you're alone, you do not have any stealth effects on yourself, which means that your first skill is always going to pop your third skill. And number 2, when you land your Avatara procs, you actually can trigger more of your third skill from landing as well. But the important detail to take note of is, if your first skill actually takes out the enemy, you will not pursue with your third skill. And another very important thing to take note of is, yes, we are abusing this mechanic where she can just spam her first skill into her third skill and just land third skills for free, right? But what you notice is that she will never gain stealth, which means that she will never do true damage as well. So this is a very important detail in the way you want to build her. So if you want to spam her first skill just to deal an insane amount of damage to, like, let's say, if she's alone, then ideally you do not want to focus too much on her true damage portion, you want to focus more on her own main DPS. So there are many ways that you can build her right now. Well, obviously Avatara is a very efficient way to run her, but on one hand you can run her as a straight up DPS, but on the other hand, you can run her very speedy with a lot of HP so that you can apply a lot of true damage with all of her skills. Because if you use her third skill, then her second skill, and then her first skill, and then you just keep cycling this way, you're going to land a lot of true damage. And at the same time, due to her speed, she's going to take a lot of turns just to land even more true damage. So this is like 2 different ways that you can build her right now. Obviously, there's going to be more ways as players start to explore the game and try to explore a little bit more about what she's capable of. So the way this works is she's going to use her third skill, which has a cooldown of 4 turns, and then she's going to use her second skill to land an AoE attack and reduce her stealth counter by 2 to become left with just 1 stealth. And when her turn comes around, she's going to use her first skill and just get rid of the stealth and nothing happens afterwards. But when she gets her turn on the 4th turn, she would then be able to use her first skill again, which will then trigger a third skill for free, and then afterwards she can use her third skill again. So this is how her skills work in succession. She will use her third skill, her second skill, her first skill again, her third skill, her third skill, her second skill, on and on and on and on. So it's just 3 2 1 1 3 3 2 1 1 3 3 2 1 1, something like that. It's pretty insane. She gets to throw her third skill a lot with her R2. And I also had to give a quick shout out to Fluid, who has been giving me so much help with my research thus far into Intisar and her R2. This video would not have been possible without his help. Now there are a few more things that I want to show you guys, but the first, which is very easy to showcase over here, is her interaction with taunts. Okay, we got taunted, so let's see how our interaction with taunts. So what you notice is that we used our first skill and we did not follow up with a third skill pursuit. So that's what happens in all cases when you're taunted. You will not be able to use any of your other skills except for your first skill, which means that you can always steal Avatara proc, but you will not be able to, let's say, if you're using an Everett for example, if you taunt an Everett, he is not going to be able to counter-attack you with his second skill. So the same is true for Intisar as well. She will not be able to pursuit into her third skill afterwards. So there are two more things that I want to showcase to you guys. Now the first is that Avatara removes stealth. And to be precise, whenever you proc an Avatara when you are stealth, you will only reduce 1 stack of your stealth. You will not reduce 2 stacks of your stealth. The reason why she removes 2 stacks is because number 1, she loses 1 stealth stack with her third skill's passive effect. And number 2, whenever she clears her turn, she will then remove 1 extra stealth stack. Very similar to buffs in general. Now the next thing that I want to talk about is that when using her in Kronos, when she is stealth, she would actually not be targeted by Kronos even if she has the lowest HP on your team, which is really good against Kronos, because this allows her to stay alive and avoid instant death and just continue to land a lot of DPS along the way, which makes her an incredible DPS Esper, much better than Xiao Yin right now. I mean, there is no comparison, but you know, just because they are both stealth Espers, I do feel like Intisar is a lot better because she carries a lot more in her kit. So she has an attack debuff, she has a defense break, she has a misrate up as well. Perfect against Kronos. So these are the findings that me and Fluid have done. Hopefully you guys enjoyed today's content. If you did, don't forget to thumbs up, it really helps the channel, and subscribe for more Dislyte content. Now with that said, this has been Derry Free to Play, and as always, I will see you in the next video.